Welcome to the Gym and Tonic podcast. I'm your host, Shanae Kunsa from SK Bodyworks, and this is a space where self-development meets holistic health. This podcast will help you create transformation from the inside out, blending all things mindset, healing, habits, energetics, spirituality, health, fitness, and nutrition. And through these episodes, I'm going to help you activate your highest self and create a life that feels as good as it looks, mixed in with some laughs, a few F-bombs, and a whole lot of truths that your soul has been craving to help you evolve, expand, and align with your highest potential. So let's dive in and step into your next evolution. Hello and welcome back to the Gym and Tonic podcast. I feel like it has been a hot minute since I have recorded an episode for you guys. Although after I did the 15-day limited time series, the weight loss formula file series, I did take a little break from recording. But we're here, I am back. And while I'm actually speaking about the 15-day limited time series, which was obviously previously a limited time series on the podcast, I wanted to let you know that it is now an exclusive vault of transformational teachings, exclusive inside the SK Bodyworks app only. So the episodes were deleted off the podcast once the doors for Weight Loss Formula closed. So this is essentially a 15-part audio series where I pull back the curtain on the exact strategies, tools, and education that I teach inside my 12-week group coaching program, Weight Loss Formula, which is now closed down for good. And these episodes are essentially bite-sized, binge-worthy, and are extremely informative, including weight loss formula secrets to help you kickstart your own transformation. And these are the exact secrets that have helped my current clients. This is the last cohort of the program. It is the exact strategies that has helped them lose between 2 and 5 kilos within the first 4 weeks of the program. They are on fire. I'm so proud of them. And if you are wanting more information or to essentially be able to binge this series inside the app alongside all of the other amazing value and content inside the SK Bodyworks app to support your health, nutrition, fitness, mindset, and self-development journey, DM me the word app on socials for more information, or you can also find the link to join in the show notes below. So today's episode, I want to talk about something that isn't spoken about enough, and it is rarely celebrated, but it is the thing that actually changes your life. And it is the invisible work no one sees. It is the invisible work that no one sees. It's the internal conversations that you have with yourself. It's the moments where you pause instead of spiral into old ways of being or doing. It is, the tiny shifts that used to be, or feel too small to actually matter. And, it's that almost like that all or nothing mentality. But on the other end of that scale, it's like the small steps that actually lead to the big changes. It's, the quiet self-awareness that happens in the background of your day where, you become aware of something that was previously unconscious. This is the work that creates the quantum leaps and huge change in your life. The invisible changes that no one sees. And, it's not the crazy, insane shifts in your morning routine. It's not the, perfectly, consistently curated habits that you're doing. It's not even the big, bold action, or even though I feel like that is such an important piece of the puzzle, but it's actually the unseen internal shifts. So if you've ever maybe found yourself thinking, why am I not moving fast enough? Why doesn't my progress look like everyone else's? Or why does this feel so slow? Or comparing yourself to other people's huge reality shifts, this episode is going to activate you in the best possible way. And when I say invisible work, I am talking about the internal evolution that no one claps for, that you need to clap for yourself within, right? And it's the mindset work that doesn't show up on Instagram, or it's the emotional maturity or emotional intelligence, I should say, that you build behind closed doors when, no one else is watching. It's the identity shifts that happen long before the results actually show. It's choosing that delayed gratification over immediate gratification. I feel like we live in a world where everyone always sees the outcome, right? They, aka the highlight reels shown on social media profiles, on influence profiles, on your friends' profiles, but they never see most people never see the invisible, microscopic self-leadership that actually made it possible to have that reality, right? And the invisible work really is like catching yourself self-sabotaging and choosing differently. In the moment, you notice yourself going to sabotage something, but you catch yourself in the moment and you choose to do something differently. It's noticing a trigger, but regulating yourself instead of reacting from that trigger like you maybe always would. Like normally it's probably so automatic that you don't realize, but it's realizing it, right? It's, choosing rest, even when your inner critic screams to go do more, to keep going, to do this, to do that, to do more, to work more, to be more, to have more. It is choosing what you actually desire, or what you say you actually desire, right? It's holding a higher standard for yourself, even when no one is watching. So behind closed doors, when you don't have that pressure to perform from other people, or from a coach, or from a friend, or from a whatever it might be, it's doing it for yourself and holding yourself to that higher standard again and again and again. And it's even reinforcing new beliefs until they become your default subconscious program. And honestly, it really is the quietest work, but the most important work that you will ever do in your entire life, because your external results are always a delayed reflection of your internal world. Like I always say, your internal world is a mirror and a reflection to your external reality. The inner shifts create huge external shifts, and that is exactly what I mean by this invisible work. So I'm going to talk you through 4 layers of invisible work, and then later in today's episode I'm going to actually give you some simple steps on how you can actually start this yourself, right? So number 1, the first layer of invisible work is self-awareness. This is the foundation, right? And it's the foundation where everything else builds from is what I meant to say. And this is noticing the pattern, the habit, the behavior, the self-talk, the thought, whatever it might be, while you are in it. Self-awareness in the moment. It's recognizing the story you are telling yourself. It's realizing when you're operating from, let's say fear versus groundedness or regulation, right? It's being aware of when you are hustling for worthiness instead of actually acting from desire. And self-awareness is not about fixing yourself. It is about seeing yourself clearly. It is about bringing the unconscious conscious. And that clarity is where change begins. Because I've said this so many times on the podcast, you cannot change something that you are not aware of. You must bring the unconscious conscious, so bring it into your conscious awareness to then be able to choose differently, right? With awareness then comes choice. So you must have that self-awareness, right? So that's the first layer. The second layer is micro habits or small changes, because these are the tiny shifts that seriously compound. And I have seen it again and again and again after like almost 10 years of working with women. The tiny shifts truly do create huge ripples in your life, and we really do underestimate the power of micro habits and those small changes because they don't feel dramatic, right? But these changes are actually identity statements. So every time you choose the 5-minute walk, you pause before reacting, you, I don't know, drink the water, you sit with your emotions for 30 seconds instead of actually numbing yourself, or, sweeping it under the rug and keeping yourself busy, but not actually addressing it. It's, every time that you speak to yourself with 1% more kindness and compassion. When you are doing these small changes, you are reinforcing a new identity. And through that repetition is when that identity starts to cement. And, even when we think of like quantum leaps or quantum change, it is built on these consistent, tiny calibrations, not the occasional big leaps. Yes, I believe they are, a part of the journey, and, having the courage to take those big leaps and move for where you want to go is incredibly powerful. But the small changes are just as important, right? The third layer is emotional and nervous system regulation. And this one is huge. So many people are operating in a default state of a dysregulated nervous system. And like our mindset literally controls our nervous system. Our brain controls our nervous system. They are so strongly linked. We literally have a brain stem at the bottom of our brain that connects directly to our central nervous system. So, which connects your brain to your entire nervous system, right? Which means one single thought can send messages to every single cell and nerve in your entire body. That is how powerful your mindset and your brain is. And the invisible work when it comes to our, emotional and nervous system regulation, or our, nervous system, is, breathing before you send the message that you are feeling, really heightened to send. It's regulating before you actually send it. It's grounding before you make a decision, so you can actually have clarity and hear your intuition, right? It's slowing down instead of rushing when your body is in survival mode and go, go, go. And, it's also like knowing how to bring yourself back to center when pressure hits, whether this is external pressure from someone else, your boss, your partner, your husband, a friend, or internal pressure from yourself. And these small choices and changes in these tiny moments is what rewires your entire baseline. So you can slowly start to operate from a more regulated state and create nervous system safety and a regulated nervous system, right? Because you cannot receive more, you cannot hold more, or you simply cannot sustain more from a dysregulated state, right? The fourth layer of this is identity alignment. This is the person you are becoming. And honestly, this is the deepest layer. It is, the moment that you make a decision based on who you want to be, not who you have been. Not letting the past version of you control the ship. It's when you start acting like your future self now, in this moment. Even when you feel like making the old choice that you always would. It's acting like that future version of you now, because that is how you become them. It's, not waiting till it's convenient or when it's easy, but actually consistently. Invisible work is identity work. And honestly, it's really the shift from, I hope this works, into this is who I actually am now. Everything is always working out for me. It's the shift from, I'm trying, to I am becoming. It's the shift from, I don't know if I can do this, like, fuck, what am I getting myself into, to, I lead myself regardless and I am capable, right? Identity alignment is subtle and can be subtle, but it is so powerful. I love using the analogy of it's almost like the glue that holds everything else together, right? I'm going to give you some real life examples from some of my clients in a moment around this invisible work. And even like for myself, I've had so many moments on my own journey where, the breakthrough wasn't loud. It wasn't even extremely exciting. It was like a moment, a quiet moment, I should say, of like me choosing differently. And, that choice, when done consistently, changes everything. And if you've worked with me in, the previous space I was in of fitness and nutrition over the last like 9.5 years plus years, you would have heard me say before that small changes are what add up to be big changes. And that is exactly what I mean by this. And even the work that I'm doing with my one-on-one mindset method clients, like their biggest shifts usually or mostly come from the invisible work that they do. Although I guess as their coach, it's not so invisible to me, but it's invisible to most people around them until it's not, right? Because other people start noticing the shift in them and their lives changing and their reality is different. They are showing up differently. They start to notice. But, as their coach, it's not invisible to me because I literally get to know their internal world like a book and to be a mirror for them and reflect back to them what they're not seeing. And they're also sharing their quiet wins with me every single week, which is why the work isn't invisible as their coach, right? And I'm going to give you some client examples of this invisible work in action, and I hope that you can relate to them as well. So I had a client recently who chose a boundary where they previously would have abandoned themselves. So this client recently had a really busy, crazy, chaotic week, right? And someone actually asked her to take on extra work. And her autopilot, or let's say automatic pattern, used to be saying yes to this. Regardless of her own needs, she would say yes, right? Even though it completely drained her, she didn't have the energy for it, and it made her resentful, right? And this time, what she did was she actually paused, she checked in with herself, and she actually said, I actually don't have the capacity for that right now. It was literally a 2-sentence boundary, but it was the first time that she chose her own energy over people pleasing and abandoned, the way that she used to do it was abandoning herself for someone else, to please someone else, because she felt uncomfortable sitting with the discomfort of saying no. And that's what people pleasing is. You would rather abandon yourself instead of sitting with the discomfort of potentially letting someone else down, or we perceive we might be letting someone else down, right? But the person we're actually letting ourselves down is us by people pleasing, right? And this client is a relatively new client in my one-on-one mindset method space, and she is literally creating huge quantum leaps. But that is a specific example of this invisible work in action, because honestly, these are the small shifts that create huge changes, right? And another example is a client who actually led themselves through a moment where they previously would have, in the past, if it had happened, it would have completely derailed them, right? And so this actually happened last week. One of my, my one-on-one mindset method clients, she had a morning where literally everything went wrong. She is a busy working mom. She's got 3 toddlers under 5. I can't remember the exact ages, but yeah, everything went wrong that morning. She was needing to do something really important online before the kids woke up. She had toddler tantrums. She had tech issues with the thing that she was trying to kill online. She even had a phone call with some not so great news. And on top of that, because of all of that, she was running late, and it was the full works, right? A crazy morning. And in the past, that whole day would have literally been ridden off because of something like this happening, right? But this time she actually stopped, she grounded herself, and she asked, how would the version of me I'm becoming respond right now? And she chose, because in that moment, it is a choice. She chose to reset her energy and change her state in literally less than 5 minutes instead of staying dysregulated all day and operating from that place, right? That is the invisible work, and it compounds through repetition. And another example of this is like catching an old story mid-thought. I had a client who, it was maybe 2 weeks ago now, and I can't remember the exact context, but her neighbors were over. She was in a conversation with someone, and she was pretty much putting herself down in that conversation. She was speaking negatively about herself to her neighbor. And in that moment, when she was saying this stuff about herself, she caught herself and she completely flipped it and noticed it in that moment and actually started to speak differently. And that is the invisible work. And this invisible work always comes before the external breakthrough, right? So I'm going to give you a couple of practical ways on how you can start your own invisible work, right? And number one is notice your stories. So just like my client did when in a conversation when she had her neighbor over recently, I want you to notice your stories. Notice what you're telling yourself, whether it's in your mind, out loud, whether it's in a conversation with someone else. Notice what you are saying about yourself or to others, right? And ask yourself, what am I believing right now? And is it true, right? Notice it in the moment. Number two is practice regulation daily. So that can look completely different for everyone. But basically regulation is like coming back into a regulated state, which is governed by our parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest nervous system. So, things that can help you do this is usually grounding things or, oh God, I don't know if you heard that, but that was just my jaw that cracked. It could be something like pausing and taking a few deep breaths. It could be, a grounding moment. It could be getting outside instead of pushing through. It could be, walking on the grass barefoot. It could be, taking 5 minutes out to do a short, meditation instead of spiraling into old ways of doing, right? Whatever that regulation practice looks like is perfect for you, right? But it is actually practicing this regularly. And these tiny little shifts are so powerful, right? The third way that you can start doing your own invisible work is choosing a 1% shift. Instead of, the 1000%, change that most women try and make overnight and like diving all in only to be all out on their, healing or self-development journey. It's instead choosing a 1% shift. It's one micro habit or one small habit that reinforces who you're becoming, because every time you do that, it is a vote for the future version of you, right? And like I always say, it is being that version of you to become that version of you. And you don't just suddenly be that version of you overnight. It is in the small changes, which absolutely compound, right? I really hope you're starting to get that memo from today's episode. And, these 1% shifts, like if you give 1% every single day, like over 100 days, like that's going to help you get to 100%, right? Not that we ever want to be 100% because we don't, nothing is ever going to be 100% perfect. We want to meet ourselves with that adaptability and flexibility and compassion on the journey as well, right? And the fourth way that you can start your own invisible work today is act from identity. This one is so powerful. Ask yourself, what would the future version of me do in this moment? So instead of living on autopilot, going through the motions, stop and actually ask yourself, what would the future version of me choose in this moment right now? And then move and act from that identity, right? These are small, flexible, and sustainable ways of literally changing your entire reality. It's just like the idea of Rome wasn't built overnight, or no, what is it? Rome wasn't built in a day, I think it is. And the same idea of like, you know, every marathon first starts with the first step, and you have to take every step in between that in order to get to the finish line. It is the exact same idea. It is not trying to change everything overnight, go all in and completely change your life in a matter of a day, because your subconscious mind does not get on board with those realities, which is why 10 out of 10 times someone tries to do that, they find themselves back to where they started in a matter of not long at all, right? Because they haven't rewired their brain to create these shifts, to create these identities, to choose differently. It's not safe for them. It's not familiar. So their subconscious mind is going to keep them rewired in the reality where their brain is wired to live from, right? So this is why these small shifts are so powerful, because it literally helps you rewire your brain and create evidence that you can be the person that you want to be, right? And that stacks up, that compounds. So the next time you judge your progress, and I want you to remember this, the work that counts the most is often the work that no one sees. It is the quiet leadership. It is the inner devotion. It is the small shifts, the regulating, the choosing again and again and again. And that is what builds confidence and self-trust. And that is what builds identity. And that is what builds new neural pathways. And that is what allows you to rewire your brain and literally change your life. This is what creates transformations that last, literally from the inside out, right? And if you are ready to create a transformation that lasts, I have a special Black Friday offer, which I actually launched just last week. But I have 2 spots left, and the price has actually gone up slightly now. But this is your last chance to secure your spot for $444. My Black Friday offer is a 4-week coaching intensive, and honestly, the value in this is insane. It is rapid recalibration to kick off 2026 with huge quantum leaps into your desired reality. So this is basically a potent 4-week portal designed to pull you out of struggle, stagnation, stuckness, and self-sabotage, and instead into deep clarity, momentum, and deeply aligned action. And this intensity is for the woman who knows she's meant for more, but maybe she feels something internally is blocking her from actually getting there. So over these 4 weeks together, we will uncover the root blocks that are holding you back. We will shift your mindset and move you into bold, aligned, and expansive forward motion. And honestly, this 4-week intensive is where things finally click, where your desires stop feeling so far away, and where the inner shifts create outer results fast, right? And with this special Black Friday offer as well, you even have the option to roll your investment into a 3 or 6 month coaching package. I have never done this before, so if you desire deeper, longer term support after this 4-week offer, you can credit $333 towards your next package. Meaning you would basically get this offer for literally $100. And like I said, I have never done this before. It is an insane value. So if you want more information on what this includes, how it all works, or that you want in, like something within you is like, oh my God, I feel drawn to this. This is pulling me in. Like, listen to that nudge, because it is for a reason, right? If you want more information or you want in, DM me the word yes on socials and let's chat. And if today's episode landed with you, I want you to share it with someone, whether it's a friend, a family member, someone you feel really needs to hear it. I want you to DM me with a takeaway. I want you to tag me on your stories. I love hearing all of your takeaways from the podcast. And I've also got a very big and exciting announcement dropping on the podcast this Wednesday, and I'm so fucking excited. I cannot wait for this. So make sure you are following the podcast so you do not miss it. And it is not just one announcement, it is multiple announcements. And the podcast is hearing it first before anywhere else. So make sure you're following along, and I cannot wait to speak to you then. Bye for now.